Good afternoon, people. Thank you, Anthony, for setting this up. First of all, I don't have any special project that I use, but I do have a project that I have set up for a little while that I use. It's my go-to project. It saved a few people from their demos. So I consider it to be a fairly well-seasoned project. It doesn't have everything. It's not designed to have everything, but it's designed to give a good taste of what GitLab can offer from secure stage perspective. So with that, I will switch over. What I do want to mention is there used to be a slide deck before that I used to use. Feel free to use your own slide deck. I'm reworking the one that I have into a more tell, show, tell style. I have not yet gotten to that iteration yet, so I'm still working through that. What I'm going to present is not tell, show, tell. It's more just description of the tell, show, tell, what I would normally do, but it's a much more in-depth because you folks are probably ready for the in-depth. I wouldn't go to this kind of depth with a customer generally, but I will show you what I have. So again, this is open. Any questions come up, please feel free to chime in and ask the question while I'm on the screen. Or if you want to save it for later, that's fine too. Either way is fine. So with that, I will share my screen now. Let me know if you see my screen. It should say Tanuki Corp Spring App. Okay, great. So this is the project that I have. It is actually, fortunately or unfortunately, in a protected area that is a US public sector area. So we don't, by default, allow other folks to be in on it. But I can give permissions to GitLab team members as and when needed. Having said that, a copy of this exact project used to be in our old demo environment, which has sadly been decommissioned now, and so the project's lost. So as part of the iteration that I'm trying to do, my goal is to move it to a common location where people can get the code and basically just run it and have everything up and running. So with that, the intent of this project is actually twofold. One is to show secure features, but then I've also built it so I show the ultimate features along with the secure features. So I'm not just selling secure, secure, secure. I'm selling the value of GitLab in the context of the larger ultimate feature set that you get, particularly being epics and then secure. So it's sort of a little bit of a blended talk track. I prefer to stay out of the security talk track because I've had the unfortunate experience of sitting down with a customer who just wanted a very tight security product and trying to sell them this broad product, focusing very heavily in security. And that's where I got bit. In the sense that they kept saying, well, show me that vulnerability. Why is that vulnerability say blah, blah, blah? This product says X, yours is less than X. It got to a knife fight, which I prefer not to have because that is not a discussion I am ready to have as a solution architect. I would prefer a security researcher be involved in that, not me. So that should have been a slightly different kind of conversation, lesson learned. So now I just broaden the scope right up front and I tell people, look, if you're looking for a very specific security product, go look for a very specific security product. If you want to revolutionize your development, make it a DevSecOps environment, come to GitLab. So it sort of sets the stage a little bit differently. What I've found is giving that very clear guidance usually actually draws in those folks who are very focused on security to suddenly back off and say, oh, what else am I missing? So just kind of keep that in mind. I usually use that. Now, where I start with is generally in the epics. This will not be part of the project, but I just want to kind of show you where I start my conversation talk track. Is I start at the epic level where I've collected a whole bunch of issues in there, and I describe how I'm working through the issues. And as I click into it, I show them the ease of going from epic directly to issue down to the code and so on and so forth. The security context I draw into that usually is, look, this is work that you can manage. It's not unmanaged work. Because what should have happened prior to the demo is a discovery call. And in the discovery call, either you or the SDR or the ISR, whoever it is who led the call, should have laid the groundwork to say, what are you doing for security today? Are you running any scanning? How easy is it for your project management to see security vulnerabilities? How frequently do you scan your code and those vulnerabilities end up in some dashboard, which are then manually transferred to the work area that the developer works in, right? So those are 3 pain points that somebody should have touched, or perhaps you should touch during your presentation up front. So you should have 1 or 2 slides where you're describing that, just kind of describing the pain point in a tell, show, tell style, perhaps, or if you're still in the old mode, just kind of do the old mode, whatever works for you. But it gives the context of why this becomes important in the context of epic issues and security is there is no unmanaged work. That's the key term to use, unmanaged work. Because a lot of the organizations, what they do is they scan, they push the scan results into some method of presentation, maybe a dashboard or something. Then the security researchers live in that dashboard, but development team lives in, say, for example, Jira or something else. Now they pour those results back into Jira. Maybe it's automated, maybe it's manual, doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is developers go and say, I fixed X. How does that information go back to that dashboard that says the developer is indicating they have fixed something or not? There's lack of visibility there. That's the point that we're trying to address, right? So that's kind of in context of why I bring up issues, and I talk through like the very quick brief on how to go from epic to issue to merge request to code change and backup, right? So that's just the start. The second thing I touch on, and this depends on my audience. Either I touch on the group level vulnerability report up front if I have a CISO or a security manager in the room. If I don't have those folks, and if I have majority development folks and maybe 1 or 2 sparse security people, then I don't go to this level or I don't go to the group level information first. I go to the project level information and then drive it up to the group level. So you see, I have to kind of twist and turn based on my audience. So hopefully you all are also doing some of that, is just kind of being mindful of who your audience is and talking to them rather than just doing a blah demo. So hopefully that is also something that you're looking into. So let's assume right now that all I have are developers in the room. So what I would do is I would show them the basic code repository. I would then show them the CICD pipeline on its own. So this addresses the folks who generally come from their Jenkins world. They just want to see the pipeline. Show me the pipeline. Show me my code. Show me my pipeline. Boom, boom, boom. They don't care about MRs or PRs. Some of them do, some of them don't. So again, you have to be kind of mindful of who you're talking to and where that might matter. But I like to show this because what I can show here is, look, this is really simple. I can build it, I can run the scans, I can do a review, I can do a DAST, I can do a performance, and then I might talk about review. And generally, this is where I would show our GitLab flow diagram and then bring them back to here. So I kind of do a little bit of tell, show, tell. As I show the GitLab flow, and then I bring them here and say, see, this is that little piece where the developer checked in their code. This is what's happening in that little piece. So they get the context of where this comes in the context of bigger GitLab stuff. Now, the way I've organized the repository is I've got a base set of code, and this code is literally the template code that you get from your Java Spring template within GitLab, okay? That brings you the application.java. I've added a bunch of files just to have a couple of vulnerabilities up front in the basic code that's on my main branch, okay? Did everybody kind of get that part? Okay. Then what I did is in the merge request, I have actually created a merge request and added a whole bunch of changes. In fact, 11 changes in there. Quite a lot to kind of show in this one screen, but I do show it because this is very, very germane to what I'm describing. I've added a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in here. So the net result of that is I get you know, criticals for too high or other just on the benefit of doing it like this is not to say your developers are bad and they're going to add stuff, but it is to basically trigger all kinds of stuff in GitLab and show all the pieces. So as you can see, if I expand the security panel, I have a whole bunch of SAST stuff. I have a whole bunch of dependency scan stuff. I have a whole bunch of container scan stuff, a whole bunch of DAS. Well, in this case, just one, but you know, at least I have one. Secret scanning, I used to have it. I took it out at some point. It hasn't gone in. It depends. Again, it's there. The widget opens up. You can talk through it. License compliance, also it triggers. And then I've got a couple of tests in there. This isn't normally talked about in security. And this is why I like to keep this in GitLab, is I can now tie what a developer is doing, what a QA person is doing, and what security is doing all in one place and present it all in one place. The benefit of doing that is now you are no longer fighting against that one single security tool. You are showing the value of GitLab from a perspective of, I don't care how many tools you have. You can bring 45 tools if you care. I can show them all of them in one single place, and that's this place. And I literally, it's a mic drop moment for me where I kind of say that and I go, any questions? And I kid you not, people usually kind of go, well, we weren't expecting this. We were expecting security. And it's like, yeah, but do you get this in your security tool today? And they go quiet because they don't. There's nobody does this at this point. The other thing I have in this repository is code quality. For some reason, it's not loading anymore, but there is supposed to be code quality things that it's supposed to load up. So once I reconstruct this project in a common area, my hope is that that will open up and there will be some code quality things that you can show. Because if I actually go to the pipeline view, there are code quality results that are in there. For some reason, that widget is just not showing. There's a bug. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so I spoke a lot. I will pause here and open up for any questions, any thoughts, any concerns.
I guess one of the questions that I would have too is, do you normally show like the security dashboard and kind of going through the different vulnerabilities? Okay.
I do. So what I normally do is again, it depends on my audience. If there are developers in the room, I will show them issues. I'll show them the issues are tied to MRs, and then I'll step into the MR. If it's just security, I focus directly into the MR, and I show them the MR. I show them all the widgets. The second thing I show them is I go into changes, and this is where like the nooks and crannies of GitLab really shine. I'll pause for some folks joining. Sarah joining. Hello, Sarah.
I heard there was a party.
There is. Did you bring the chips and popcorn?
Sure did. I'll send them right over.
Great. So Sarah, just for your information, this call is being recorded. So now you're on record for bringing chips and popcorn. Okay. So where I was, Sarah, is just to kind of catch you up real quick. I went through where I have prepared a code base, where in the base repository I have some basic code in here, and this is literally out of our template, our Java Spring template. And in the merge request, I've actually added some large number of things in there in the code. So once it loads up, that actually triggers a whole bunch of vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's sort of the basic stuff that I described. Now, I normally would go to the MR, I would click on the changes, and then I would say, here's a transformative way of including security into your development process. Let's assume that a developer just checked in their code, the pipeline ran, so you can see the status of the pipeline, you can see all that ran, okay? So I can validate that all these checks are happening, that the developer isn't like hiding some stuff or whatever. I then can see the specific things that are going on. I can also see the line number where this particular item is coming from, right? So I click on that and I see that it's line number 109 in location service.java, okay? And it's triggering CWE 89. And this is a standard talk track where you would probably describe the fact that normally we would have a create issue button. There isn't one here because I've already created it. I can see the status of this issue. It's still open, all that jazz. So that's all good. I'm not gonna belabor on that one. But the real nugget that I want to point out is if I go to location services Java 109, so if I go back up to my changes and go to location service and line number 109, let's see, there it is. Okay, this is where that vulnerability is. It's a JDBC, it's a Java, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a you insert SQL into the SQL code. It's called
SQL injection.
SQL injection. Thank you. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word injection. Thank you. So this is a SQL injection, and this is where a security personnel would probably relate to you as you show them this code, and then you say, how would you normally change this, right? Is traditionally, security would then send this to the development team and say, you have a SQL injection in here. And development team goes and looks at this and goes, okay, I can fix this and I can retype this. An alternative pathway is that the security individual goes here, clicks on this button, and offers a suggestion by changing the code in the right way. You tracking with me? Cool. So in this example, I would, I'm not going to do live coding right now, but I could normally rewrite this statement to be not inclusive of the SQL injection, and I would add that comment. Okay, so let's do that. Add comment now. So I did that. I didn't happen to change the code, but if I did change it in some way, it would be there. Now, as a developer, okay, I would come here and all I have to do is click the apply suggestion button, and that code becomes part of the process. So what did I just do here? I saved a number of hours of what a security individual would normally do, what a developer would normally do, and the communication channels between the two, and the fact that this is coming straight directly from the hands of the security individual, which means the developer didn't have to jot it down, bring it back to another meeting, open up their laptop, start fat fingering it in, and mess things up. So that has tremendous benefits in the security world. What I also add to that is, let's say because a lot of times what happens is the customer or prospect will say, well, our security individuals don't understand the construct, so we don't want them touching the code. Okay, fine. Just give me a suggestion. I don't need you to touch the code. I just need you to offer me the suggestion or tell me where to change what, and I can do this stuff, right? So there is a little bit of conversation there. And then from a perspective of context, you can immediately pivot back and say, guess what? The context is clear because in my overview, I have the issue tied to this merge request. So presumably the user story lives in the issue. The security developer or security personnel are looking at the code, but they can quickly go back to that issue right within the context of GitLab without losing their context, read the user story, come back and do what they need to do to fix the code in the way that it needs to be fixed. You are tremendously accelerating the security development process there in ways that are unheard of before. That's critical to point out the teams here. So I'll pause for open questions, applause.
Donation.
Quick question for you. How do you do that effectively in less than 5 minutes?
How do I do what effectively? I'm sorry.
So you're giving them the collaboration tools of here is what a suggestion looks like. And I'm trying to think about like demo to win and how I do my demo and how I would insert this into like getting them excited. Is this something you do with all your all your security demos? Or is this something when somebody asks a question, how do you inject, pun intended, how do you inject this information into your presentation?
Yeah, I don't show this to every ultimate customer demo. I show it when I sense that the pain point there is, our security is disjointed. We don't have a communication channel. We are not, see, in my opinion, what I just showed was sort of that wow factor. Security tools, scanning, running scans, showing that was a wow factor, but I just blew away like the first wow with the second wow. And it's like, oh, I could do that. That's awesome. Like they'll never do that. I know they'll never do that. They won't do that, at least for the first few months of getting GitLab. But the matter of fact here is that I've presented them a vision that is so broad in scope, like their minds are exploding, right? So that, but I have to be wary of the audience, right? Like if they are so tied to their Jenkins and their, whatever, pick a security product, Synopsys or whatever that they use, they're not going to care much. But if they are kind of like if there's a CISO or a CTO or CIO in the room, or somebody high level, management level, and you show this, you just told them that you made work easy at a basic level, at the security and development level, but then it's saving you time at a much bigger level. So you're still using the principles of tell, show, tell. I can't really deliver the message in 5 minutes because there's so much to deliver. I don't normally go down this path unless I know I want to completely blow them out of the water. Okay, so it's a very targeted, very on the spot decision thing that I throw in as a nugget.
Yeah, especially if you have somebody, maybe a security enthusiast that you need to, this is in your back pocket if you need it.
Yeah,
awesome.
And that's exactly it, Sarah. So just as an example, I did a presentation very recently to one of the government prospects. There was a security individual in the room, and he was like, well, we have 5 different security tools, and we do all kinds of scanning, and blah, we're very secure. The developer though was like, well, we have Jenkins and the security tools aren't integrated in Jenkins right now, but we love our Jenkins stuff. So we don't want to necessarily move out of Jenkins. So what are you presenting here? So I did my demonstration of what I would normally show the developer workflow, but I went very heavy on the security workflow, and I showed them this. At the end of the call, that security person who was like, "Whoa, we're very secure," was like, "That was cool. I'm ready to get GitLab. Development team, what's your choice?" Like literally he said that on the call, and my jaw dropped. I was like, I've never heard a prospect kind of say it right at the call, like, "I'm ready." Like they'll be like, "Oh, we want to think about it. We'll come back to you." But that wasn't even like that. It was a direct yes. On the other hand, the developer was kind of freaked out by this a little bit, because they were like, "Oh, well, if security is writing code, then what am I doing? And I'm, why should I remove my Jenkins for something that GitLab would do?" Like they weren't sold on it, but the other people were. So it was one of those kinds of things where I wanted that win by getting security on board, letting security drive that process and sale for me. And that's what's happening there. So just as a little bit of a context on the usage of this stuff. Okay.
And so question on that, just on the same track, who were the competitors, or were there competitors that they were also looking at that they said, GitLab is it, that's what we want?
Yeah, so it's not done yet, but the competitors they're looking at is keeping Jenkins and CloudBees, and getting one or two other security tools. The ones that we're thinking about, one was Checkmarks, the other was, I believe, either Black Duck or Sonatype, I don't remember, for their dependency scanning. But that was it. So I gave them the whole value prop of, look, I'm giving you 5 tools right off the bat. This doesn't even include fuzz testing. Oh, by the way, do you even do fuzz testing? And like, I know their heads are going to like completely roll off their heads at that point. So I don't want to throw them at the deep end. But I do talk about the fact that we offer all these right off the bat. Those tools don't normally offer, right? And then it's dicey though. I try not to say they don't offer as much as I say, this is what we offer, but wait, I have one better. And that one better is not only this dashboard, which gives you the capability to manage your vulnerabilities, but there's the security and compliance dashboard, which offers you the overall view of where your project stands. And this is where I pause for some effect, because this usually is like a hot button issue with almost all of my customers, which are all US government customers, fortunately or unfortunately. The coolest part here is I kind of just pop open this dropdown and I hover on it and I say, what GitLab does here is we have homogenized the results into a singular view. So you are not having to go to 4 or 5 different dashboards, learn each dashboard speak, and then connect each of those to your issue management system. We've done all that work. Okay, that's my speech on this screen over here is, and then I just kind of hover, and then if they kind of say, well, all I'm seeing is like, this was a dependency. Could you show me a SAST finding? Then I will go to SAST, and then there's a SAST finding there, and then I would click into it, and I would show them what that looks like, right? So all of that's there. What happened there? Oh, I have to click the title. That's the other thing, is this dashboard is a little bit overloaded with the kind of links that they've provided. If you click the bottom link, it takes you to the line. But if you click the top link, it takes you to the vulnerability. So just be mindful of clicking where you need to go. The other thing is there's that issue, and then the fact that that issue is tied, and you can see the status of that issue right here. So what I generally tell them, my prospects, is this is where your security team's probably going to live. This is where your security team's going to identify issues. They're going to look at them, they're going to triage them, they're going to say either it's a false positive or it's a true positive, or we have resolved it in some other way. Maybe there's some other way to do that. So that piece of it is held up here. But then let's not forget that development might have to do something to fix this issue nonetheless. Well, how does security keep track of that? How does it do that today? So I'll kind of pose the question in the middle of the demo and say, how do you do that today? Describe it to me. And majority of the times, at least my customers, they kind of fumble around. They're like, oh, we have an automated process that takes all this stuff and puts it into Jira or whatever tracking system that they're using. And then I go, okay, once it goes there, how does security know it's done? And it's crickets usually, because they don't have a back and forth process, a one-way process. And that's where I drive the value of, look, this gives you direct feedback, real-time feedback. It's tied in, it's one system. I don't have to transfer data over. It's already there. All I have to do is just view it. And I know, you know, potentially in government, this is a big deal. One throat to choke, right? I mean, I know it sounds really negative, but that's how they see it. And I say, look, I can click on the issue. I can find out who it's assigned to. And guess what? It's not assigned to somebody. Aha. Now you know who to chase down to get this thing done, right? Like go get somebody assigned. Assign it to somebody, make it actionable. That's the ticket. It's not, oh, I just created it and sent it off to Jira and now it lives in some other world. It's not that. This over here, we're tying the two together. So that's the benefit proposition. So I'll pause and open up for other discussions.
Okay, quick question.
Yep.
This is for you. Air gapped. When you have a company that you're talking to that has an air gapped environment, how do you show them the security dashboard?
So once you set up the air gap scanners in the way that we have described, and we don't call them air gap, we call them offline. So just be mindful of the terminology there. Once they're set up, they operate exactly like this.
Air gapped is called offline.
Offline.
Perfect.
So
oh, I'm so glad you said that.
yeah, so in that thread that you had started and I had responded to, I pointed out two links. One is the link of how to install GitLab in a offline environment. And then the second link is how to set up your security scanners in a offline environment. So just be mindful of those two terminologies and the things. Customer follows those two in that order, they should be good to go. Presumably the architecture behind it, just so you're aware, is there's GitLab, then there's a runner. The runner has to have a Docker executor, which implies that there has to be a Docker host that's running Docker that the runner can access. Because all of our security stuff runs as Docker containers. So if it is online, offline, it truly doesn't matter. As long as they follow those instructions, bring those containers into their offline environment, they're good to go. The dashboard populates. Everything operates exactly identical to what I just showed.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarity.
Yeah.
Everything still require Docker, or is it just like code quality?
Everything requires Docker. Code quality requires Docker in Docker.
Okay.
Yeah.
That okay, that's good to know because Tim and I were talking about it last week and it seems as though we were incorrect.
Oh, well, what did you think was the case?
My question was, in what situations is Docker required? Can we just use like another executor? And we thought it was just code quality that still required Docker and Docker or the services flag for CI. So I don't know, I'll double check, but I thought that there were changes there.
So the way I understand it, and you may be right, so let's kind of maybe take that offline as well. Yeah, but the way I understood it is initially when the secure stuff was developed, they used the Docker in Docker architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it used to work is they would pull down all the code into like an Alpine Docker, and then they would instantiate a Docker container within that. And that's why you needed the Docker in Docker architecture to then yet again push the code, run the scan, give the results to the outside Docker container to then suck back into GitLab as an artifact and do what it needs to do. Subsequently, the secure pieces changed the architecture. So you did not need the Docker in Docker anymore, but you still need the Docker piece, because what it now does is it instantiates the security container Docker container. Security scanner container, pulls the code into it, runs the scan, generates the output file, and then that is the artifact that has to go back to the GitLab server. So you still need something that runs it and generates the files and delivers it. And that whole piece is developed by us, right? And that's embedded in the Docker container.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe I'll go back through my conversation to see if maybe we just had like a weird miscommunication. I have a current customer that they have some government contracts and they don't want to be using Docker in any capacity internally, but maybe.
So there is a little bit of a nuance there, and that is, if you did not want to use the Docker container, you would have to pull down the scanner, install it locally on some machine,
Okay.
and then use our scripts to take the output of that scanner to convert it into our JSON format, which then becomes the artifact that GitLab pulls back. So, and a solution exists, but it's not out of the box. You'd have to do something to enable it.
Yeah. Okay. That
helps. Yeah.
I'll circle back on this one once I get it figured out. I don't want to derail the.
Yeah, no problem. This is in context of what we're talking, so it's fine. The only difference is the code quality piece. The way that functions is it instantiates a Docker container, it scans the code to find what types of code is in there, and then pulls down the appropriate code quality scanner for that code type, runs the scan, and then generates the results and all that stuff. So you need the Docker and Docker there. That we cannot get away with because code climate actually has that, that architecture is code climate's architecture, and we use that, and it predates the secure stages, right? That was part of verify stage and all that. So there's a little bit of technical debt that we're pulled through with that, and it's not something we can get rid of just yet until we actually engineer the whole piece.
Okay.
I got a quick question, Sameer, from a security perspective. Have you ever had to kind of trace back what we do within our security stage to OWASP top 10? Thinking about SQL injection and whatnot.
Yes, I have had customers ask me that. There isn't an easy way. In some situations, our identifiers show which OWASP top 10 it's violating, but not always. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge. The reason that is, Anthony, is because we don't use one single scanner in at least in the SAST area. We use one scanner in OWASP ZAP, but the differences are so varied in the different scanners that we have, and we rely on the scanners for the data. So the fact that we don't have the data, and so we can't present it, and then because we can't present it, we can't sort it or search by it. So it's a limitation. So that good question, it comes up. At this point, we don't have a solution. The best approach that I've been told by product management to use is to say, we give you the results right here, OWASP top 10 or not. You can look at it, you can make that judgment, and you can prioritize according to how you want it. And the other alternative is you export these results out into a spreadsheet and then do whatever you need to do on that end. So yeah, currently we do not have a solution. The issues have been open for almost two and a half years, at least since when I've been here. And they're just not getting love because the underlying scanners don't have that yet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. On that note, though, I will mention that if you integrate with a tool that does provide that, you have the possibility of stuffing that data as one of the identifiers. Okay, so it can become available. It could potentially work, but your mileage may vary. That's
opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity to contribute.
Yeah. So on that note, what I do want to present real quick here is something a little bit off the beaten path, but some of you may be interested in this if you have Fortify or check marks in your territory and you're kind of looking to be the kinder, friendlier product that can just take your Fortify results and present them in GitLab, take your checkmarks results and present them in GitLab. So this was a sample project that we created with, and I can't take full credit for it. I got a lot of help from other folks. There was a partner, I wouldn't say partner, somebody found a way to actually take Fortify results, transfer them into a JSON format file, and was kind enough to share it with us. And basically, literally, we loaded it up and it worked out of the box like a charm. Okay, that's that simple. And the report looks like this. I've got my report, and it actually tells me the scanner was SAST and Micro Focus provided the result. Okay, so I am able to then sort by scanner type and be able to do my stuff. I could also, in the dropdown, a new panel or new separator opens up, which shows me the named company in the scan result as a separate piece. So I could do my GitLab stuff and I could do my other stuff down here. So this is kind of how it operates. So in case you weren't aware, if there are partnering companies that are providing scan results, this is how GitLab will natively present them. You get your GitLab stuff, and then down below you have your other third-party stuff that is presented all in one singular format. Questions?
I don't have a question, but that's super useful to see because I have a few customers that need to integrate other scanners, like Twistlock, for example, and I didn't know how that would actually display. So that's great. Yeah.
It's all, the magic is all in the JSON report file, and each different scanner has different JSON formats. So just be mindful of that. So that some things might vary. But for example, here I have the scanner tag. I have an identifier, it says Fortify SCA, and then I have a name, which is Fortify SCA. And then down below, there's some metadata where I named the name of the vendor. Vendor name is Micro Focus. So it used the data that came in from the JSON file to construct the record, and it stamped it with those values in there. So it's really, really simple at that point. As long as somebody can emit this JSON format, we can suck it in. We can do whatever we want with it. Cool. Let's see. It also works in the way where if your main was scanned by the said scanner, and then your merge request is also scanned by the same scanner, GitLab will actually do the diff and show you the diff in that panel that opens up with the scanner name in it. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Like we do all of that because of the JSON format here. Cool. All right, we have about 10 more minutes. Any questions, any thoughts, last minute things, something I missed, something you want to see?
Yeah, can you cover the Tenable integration? I'm just kidding. There was a customer that was, oh, you can?
I absolutely can. So
you shall receive.
I can't do Tenable particularly because it's a licensed product, but I can do a very similar product called OSCAP, which is OpenSCAP, which is again, it scans your operating system and machines to find if there are vulnerabilities in it. And I have an example YAML file where I've actually included the OSCAP scan. And in this case, I don't actually suck in the results because the results were so lengthy and large that I didn't have the time to actually convert that into our JSON format. I just took the shortcut. Here's what I did, is the scan runs, it generates the artifact and puts it into a file called OL7 SSG results.xml file. And I have named, let's see, the artifacts. I track, I expired the artifacts 30 days. I put the path in here and all that. When I run the scan in my CI/CD process, it actually basically just runs the scan.
And it'll throw the results into
and the results are in the, oh, sorry, I should have gone back. The results are available right at the pipeline level in the artifact. So I can just go download these artifacts. They're right there, and boom, I got my artifacts. The other thing I've done is I actually took a little bit of a step forward and I connected it to an issue. So I have, so this is in a compliance mechanism. I have a compliance requirement that says you must run OSCAP scans. So I will look for my SCAP requirements piece, right? I mean, these are not requirements, but these are issues that are requirements of sorts. And in there, I actually use the bot to then deliver the link to the job artifacts right here. So as an auditor, I don't have to go to 14 different places to find my artifacts. I just go to job artifacts, I click on it, it takes me there. And then these are the raw artifacts from the said tool. And if I open it, boom, I've got my HTML. And as you can see, there are a lot of findings in here, a lot of red, a lot of green. So I have actionable things that I can do out of this with that. So I didn't take it to the next step where I took these results and poured them into our dashboard, but that's, you know, well, this is an XML or an HTML. I'm sure I can use JQ to do all this stuff very, very simply. So that's immaterial to the point, but the thing is, the artifacts are here. It's all in GitLab. I don't have to go to 14 different systems to figure this out. I don't have to go to SharePoint to figure this out. It's right here, one click. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Any other requests? It's like, feels like an unplugged demo.
It was good. No requests from me, but I appreciate it. And also I loved that you brought in like the code review pieces while also doing the security demo. That's something I've never really thought to do. Like I try and go through a merge request and kind of show what it looks like from the developer point of view, but I liked that was good for the storytelling aspect. So thank you.
Yeah, what I did miss, and thank you for reminding me, Taylor, is that in that merge request, I have coded in the vulnerability approval process. So because I have so many highs and criticals, this vulnerability approval process will kick in, and this pointy-haired boss has to approve. Otherwise, I can't merge, right? So I do talk about it. I just didn't talk about it today, but you know, I presume that that's kind of the standard beaten path talk track, and I was trying to go off a little bit of the beaten path here.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Last few questions. Otherwise, I'll give you back 5 minutes of your day.
Thanks for this. I really like the knowledge transfer. It's awesome.
Yeah, so what I will do, by the way, for everybody, as well as the people watching this recording, is my intent is to take what I've done here and put this in a common shared area. I have to figure out where, but once I do, I will post a message on the Slack stuff so that people can find it and catalog it. And I will have to also go back to the demo catalog project and rejigger the links and all that. So I have to do some work. In the interim, if somebody is interested, please reach out to me. I will share I will include you in this project. You can use it for your demonstration. I usually include people with a timed expiration, so then they are kicked off automatically, so I don't have to think about kicking them out. Because this is a US public sector area, I'm supposed to be very careful about who I include and who I don't. So that's just kind of the limitation I have to work with. But I'm very happy to share with anybody at any time, as I have done in the past. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sameer. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining today.
Cool.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.